Welcome to the Black and Green podcast. It's your go-to place to find the latest high-quality, all-natural products created by Black artisans. Hosted by yours truly, Dr. Kristian H., the founder of Black and Green. We'll discuss all things health, wellness, self-care, and of course, self-love. This podcast features a refreshing lineup of guests, from entrepreneurs and artisans to holistic lifestylists and clean beauty experts, and a plethora of other innovators within the wellness industry. Join me as we learn from the best of the best. All right, guys, welcome to the Black and Green Show. This season is about conscientious living, where every choice matters. I'm your host, Dr. Kristian, and we will explore the power of intentional decision-making in every area of our lives. From the products we use, to the foods we eat, the hobbies we build, and the books we read. This is your space to pause, reflect, and take charge of your choices. In a world full of noise, it's easy to move on autopilot. But what if you stop to think? Each decision is an opportunity to align with your values, nurture your well-being, and create a life you love. Together, we'll dive into transformative conversations, practical tips, and a little soul searching to inspire you to live consciously every step of the way. Let's redefine what it means to live well. I'm so excited about our guest today. We go way back, okay? Way back. Introduce yourself. I want to make sure I call you by your right name out here in these streets.
Here's the thing. I'm still in love with Nunu, right? But, I am known as Natalie Antoinette. I am a wellness expert and executive leadership coach, founder of Tea N.V, and the creator of the Wellness to Wealth program. Should we keep going or?
Yes.
All right. So, really my mission is kind of to just help women unlock their fullest potential through health and through wellness, right? So I have a philosophy and it's wellness to wealth. And it's pretty simple. It's this idea that prioritizing your health, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, it really creates this foundation where you get true wealth in all areas of your life, right? So through my brands and Tea N.V, where we offer luxury wellness teas, or through the fitness platforms where we offer, healing through yoga and different fitness programs, or even the Wellness to Wealth consulting program, really the idea is to help women transform their health into wealth through, building healthy habits, sustainable business practices, and just finding that personal fulfillment.
I love that.
Really,
yes. And so I got my yoga teacher training through your
New Secrets Yoga.
Yes. And so I think what stuck out to me about you is that you were so curious about so many different things. You were an expert in a lot of different things that you just dive in to learn. So I want to know, what was the role that has curiosity played in your personal and professional journey? And how do you cultivate curiosity in your daily life?
Honestly, curiosity has kind of been the driving force between, for my personal and my professional growth, to be honest with you. And I honestly think that my curiosity sparked before I actually took action on it, if that makes sense. So just briefly running back, I want to say my curiosity kind of sparked in high school. I used to work at CVS Pharmacy. And I was in the pharmaceutical aisle. And of course, on downtime, we had time to look at medicine and do the thing. So I actually used to look at the ingredients, right? And I noticed it was always plant-based, but it had additional stuff in it. And then it became interesting when people would come back with different symptoms, but they're getting the same medicine for it. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But, I'm 17, 18 at this time, not thinking too deep about it. But it definitely had that curiosity there. It wasn't until I want to say 08 or 09 when I actually was diagnosed with the early stages of cervical cancer, when it was kind of okay, the option was take everything out. Me at 19 years old. Yeah, I don't want a baby right now, but that's not the option I want to go with either. And so what do I need to do to have my body heal itself. Like, what can, is that possible, right? Is this my only option to go and like take everything out, right? So I think that was really the action that kind of, or the catalyst that pushed me into action down this curiosity path. So from there, I became a certified herbalist, holistic health, a holistic nutrition and life coach, a doula, a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, a Reiki practitioner. Like, all of these things kind of opened my mind of like, oh, what does this do? And wow, this actually makes me feel better, and this is corrected now. So what else can I do, right? It was this idea of a self journey at first. And I think I kind of cultivate that curiosity daily, right? Through, asking these questions and just having like this idea of seeking diverse perspectives. I guess that's the best way to put it, where I can remain open to challenging opinions that may be around me or something like that. I think that's really where the curiosity continues to grow.
I love that.
So
I love that.
yeah, that's where I'm at.
I think what's really special about you, what you just said, is remaining open to challenging opinions. So it's like, I've done my research. I've read this and I believe this thing. So it's easy that that's what I believe now because of what I've read. That's what I believe now. But if you hear something that counters that, not allowing yourself to still hear it, not be resistant. Like, was that a process? Was that a journey? Like, how did you get to that point of being able to hear resistance and not being resistant?
I think it just came from wanting to understand the why, right? Everybody has the what, right? But I think that the why is more important. So just to use a very superficial example, you and I both may be Christian, but for two totally different reasons, right? Like, I might have grown up in it, or my parents forced me to go to church, and this is just what I know, so I do it for that reason. And you might have grown up completely different and had a life-altering experience, and, it's deep-rooted in you. And so I think that's really important, understanding why somebody does something, does what they do or whatever. And I think that is kind of what, for me, helps me to, really just build better relationships or even just want to know a person. And it kind of boils down to like, I feel like social media is kind of like a gift and a curse, right? It's like this idea where you can curate this feed that gives you exactly what you want to see, right? Which is great. But on the flip side, it really polarizes us because it now puts me in a place where I'm constantly getting like-minded things, which can be great, but I'm not necessarily getting support for my growth. And I think those are two different things, right?
Oh, what support for your growth mean? Does support for your growth mean challenging?
It doesn't have to be, but I think that, in all honesty, sometimes we do have to be challenged. Why do we think that? Are we following this because someone told us, or it fits the trend, or it's convenient? You know what I mean? So sometimes oftentimes I find myself playing angel's advocate, right? Like, even if I agree with what you're saying, we gotta be mindful of our words, intentional.
Angel's
But
advocate.
it's like, even if I agree with what you're saying, I want to know why you believe that. Do you even understand why you believe that, right? And it's not necessarily because you need to provide a certain answer to me, but sometimes it's like, are you even thinking deep enough to understand why you believe what you believe?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Why do you believe that yoga is powerful?
So through my own personal journey, right? It's so funny because I was a triathlete all throughout high school, and someone offered me, I remember when I got to college, like, I wasn't playing sports as much anymore, and someone offered me the chance to go like to a yoga class, and I'm just like I'm an athlete. This is nothing. I could stretch for a little bit, And so I yoga class and get my tail handed to me. But it was just that challenge of like trying something new, right? And so I think, during the class, I hated everybody. I was cursing. I mean, not really, but on the inside, I'm like, who volunteers for this? But once the class was over, the way my body received that sort of benefit, right? All the different benefits that come from that. And so it was more so me following a feeling of, okay, this actually feels good for my body. While I may not necessarily want to go to class right now, I know how I feel afterwards. And so that kind of like started me going. But I think that once I started paying attention to my alignment and how I felt being on the mat, and the stress I was able to relieve, it became more of a physical benefit because now my body's getting stronger. I had scoliosis, and so it was actually correcting my back and gaining those muscles. So it had a lot of like physical and emotional benefit that I just wanted to continue to cultivate for myself. And then I think that in doing that, it became something that others sparked an interest in. If that makes sense.
Let's talk about herbs. What's your why for herbs?
So that boils down, that's like this the start of everything, right? That my family's Jamaican, is fresh from yard, right? So I'm first born American. And so, growing up around herbs is just something that my father was actually Rastafarian. So, that was just something that I saw in the household. And so for me, again, it wasn't like I think I should do herbs first. It was more so like, okay, I'm familiar with this. Let me see if there's an alternative. I didn't know that it had this much medicinal properties to it. I'll be honest with you, right? And so for me, it was like as I began, there's always a tea or an herb that grandma would say, like, you can make this, right? So I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? Starting with the things like the lavenders or the chamomiles, the more familiar ones. Like, okay, well, this might help me subside with my stomach pain for the day. But as I began to dig a little deeper, if you will, I noticed that there's so much more medicinal benefit, right? And there's so many herbs that we're not even familiar with. But I started noticing there were a lot of herbs that I remembered from the CVS pharmacy, right? From these medicines that I used to read with the ingredients. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what is this? And what does this actually do? And then that became this like rabbit hole. And luckily it was a good one. It's a good rabbit hole, but I went deep, girl. I was falling like Alice in Wonderland. So it was great. It was great though. It's just that, once I got to the space of, taking these medicinal teas for myself for so long and then going back to the doctor and them saying like the cervical cancer is no longer here. Mind you, she also told me that I needed to have this surgery in order to stop the cancer from spreading. So that's how it was given to me at an 18, 19-year-old teenager, right? And just by the grace of God, me having that knowledge of like, okay, well, following my intuition, let me just try something else first. And when I went back, she was like, I don't know what you did, but it's not here anymore, And then I now have 2 children. So it's this idea of like, recognizing that sometimes I'm not saying I'm against conventional medicine at all. Sometimes it's necessary. But I don't think it always has to be the drastic first step, right?
That's
So
it.
just
That's it.
applying that knowledge. Yep. Very important.
Yeah. And it's like the ability to combine both, like understand there's value in each of them. But
Right.
oftentimes I feel like our society has not uplifted natural or herbs in a way we see the value in it. And
Exactly.
I think it's important to kind of see the value of both. That we aren't saying one or the other. We're saying they can work together.
Exactly. And I think it's important too. It's so funny. I recently watched a reel and it was of a doctor. She had been a doctor, a surgical doctor for 40 something years or something. So she's at the point where she's, doing the traveling and the lectures and that sort of thing. And she paused and she kind of threw everybody for a loop because she was like, in all of my years of study, they've never taught us about nutrition. They've never taught us about exercise and like the importance of it. They only tell you about the medicine and the symptoms and how to mask them, right? And so again, I'm not against it, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the first thing because they're not always in a space where they're taught to look at the body as a whole.
Exactly.
And that's really what I think the body is for, right? It all works together. And that's what wellness is. It's the mind, body, soul mapping together. Whereas in conventional medicine, it's more like, okay, your stomach hurts. Let's look at the stomach, right? You're not thinking about all the other things. So that's really the importance for me, trying to not separate these things anymore and understand that they work together.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, this conversation can go in so many directions. Because my brain is thinking how people don't even understand what a doctor actually is and what they actually do. And you take the doctor's advice and just run with it.
Exactly.
Not understanding that you know yourself better than anybody else that can meet.
Exactly.
When you go see doctors, you're getting their opinion. And I
Right.
don't think people understand that their opinions, they are humans and they're giving you their opinion based on the education they have and what they think. Opinion. You also
Exactly.
have an opinion that you know yourself better than anybody else.
Exactly.
So I think that's really important to understand that. That kind of brings me to my next question. Like, how do you approach learning with intention rather than just consuming information? With so much information available, how do you filter what is valuable for your growth and what is just something that's going to cloud your opinion?
That's such a good question. I think, it's important to approach learning with a purpose. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I feel like the saying is always knowledge is power, but I'm actually a firm believer that application of knowledge is power, right?
Whoa.
And, for me, it's like we can be sitting here like pulling in all this information on a daily basis, but if at any point in time you don't apply that, right? How many of us know like an apple a day keeps the doctor away? We've been knowing that as a chat. How many of us eat an apple every day? You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, just using that as a very superficial example, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's no good if we're pulling in all this information, but we just got it in a
Oh,
saved folder in our
yes.
Instagram. You know what I mean?
Oh,
We're not
yes, yes, yes,
applying.
yes.
So for me, it's like when I'm looking through information, I'm very intentional about, you know, based off, especially as a coach, it's more so like, can this information elevate my client's experience in any way? Or can this elevate my own well-being in any way? Those are really the two sort of like factors I'm kind of paying attention to when
Mm-hmm.
looking at stuff. Cause I feel like it needs to be in alignment. And if not, it's a distraction.
Yes,
Really, that's the
yes,
best way to
yes.
put that, right? So I like to prioritize my learning through like mentorship, hands-on experience, that sort of like
Mm-hmm.
face-to-face contact, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like it boils down to three questions, and I feel like I kind of ask this every time I'm trying to be intentional with what it is that I'm consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Is it aligned with my vision? Does the information sort of contribute to what it is that I'm trying to do? Can I implement this? And obviously, like I said, application over the knowledge. And then the last one would be, does it resonate with me, right? Like, is it in alignment with what it is that I'm trying to bring forth or learn or whatever that looks like? So just kind of being clear on my learning goals and being selective in terms of what I'm consuming, because even if you're mindfully scrolling, right, you're still consuming that information. That's still coming into the system. So just like being where I'm never saying that you can't do your doom scroll for 10 minutes, but just be aware of that. Be aware that, okay, I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes on mindless stuff, and then I'm going to hop back to what's actually important. So just being cognizant of those things. But really, I think those three questions is what like hones me in. All right, should I be here or not?
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
love that. I think you brought up a really good point. You always bring good points about application. But how? Like, okay, yes, you're right. I know, but I actually have to apply it. How have you helped teach yourself to actually apply the information? What tools or strategies do you have for application? Saying to do it and actually doing it. Two different
It can be two different things. Trust me, I get that. I mean, there's the typical answer, like, okay, do some journaling, right, and get clear on what it is that you're trying to do. So you have those sort of like, or do more mindfulness things where it says like, let me meditate and clear my mind or whatever that looks like. But I feel like for me, I'm more of a type A personality, so I schedule my downtime or I schedule my intentional time, right? Just like I would with an appointment. If it's time for learning or if it's time for rest or whatever that is, I schedule that to make sure that I actually create that space, right? And I think that for me, it's a matter of consuming information almost slowly. I'm constantly learning, but it doesn't mean that you have to be taking in information on a
Mm-hmm.
regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I get some information today. That's all I need for now. Let me figure out how to implement this. Instead of sitting here like I'm getting all the steps, let me focus on one step at a time,
Right,
right? So
right.
that may look like, okay, I learned that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? Just trying to stick to that example.
Yeah.
How can I make sure that before I start looking at something else, how can I implement this apple every day? Do I need to put in my morning routine? Do I need to blend it up in a smoothie? Do I need to, get it in a juice? What does that look like, right? So once I get a little bit of information, I apply that first before I even get to a space of getting more information, right? So building this foundation kind of block by block and understanding that, like, you're not going to wake up, even if you wake up tomorrow and you're like, okay, I have the perfect self-care day and I've done all the things, it may not look like that the next day, right? And so understanding that, sometimes there's ebbs and flows, but if you have in your mind, okay, I need an apple today, maybe you didn't get at the morning time, but you'll grab one before you go to bed or something like that, just being more intentional. And I think that if we do it in a more, for me anyway, doing it more step by step, made it more realistic in a lifestyle versus this trend of like, oh, I need to have turmeric shots every morning. Okay, that's great for a week, but by week 2, if that's not part of your lifestyle, you start to fade, and then it's no longer part of your regimen at all, right? So
Right.
just step by step, I think is the best way, and not overcomplicating things.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Not overcomplicating things. We're going to
Yes.
pause now for a meditation.
All right.
Now we will pause for a moment of meditation with Dr. Crystal Jones.
So wherever you are right now, just take a moment to be. Be in your awareness, be in your truth, be in your wholeness. Allow yourself to show up as light, dark, and every shade of gray in between. Feeling your presence, experiencing your truth. Finding your breath, and instead of directing her, listen to her. Ask her where she wants to spend more time, and spend more time there. Ask her where she's stuck, and go into the experience of why. Be in this breath, be in this movement, and continue to cultivate this experience through the rest of your day. Honoring that your truth and whatever you show up as is always enough. You are perfection and excellence personified. Anything that tells you that you're anything else no longer serves you.
It's always refreshing.
Absolutely. Every time I do it, oh my gosh, I needed that.
Definitely.
Have you ever encountered resistance internally or externally to expanding your knowledge? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'd say both internally and externally, right? That I feel like that's something that everyone kind of goes through as you're growing, right? Because you're coming out of this comfortable space, and sometimes that looks a little unknown, right? So for me, the external battle came from the skepticism of others, right? Like, does she know what she's doing? Also, think about this, right? You, in the beginning, you said how you work with me through yoga. So some people know me through yoga. Some people know me through tea. Some people know me through, consulting. And so for me, the internal battle came from kind of this imposter syndrome, because it's like, well, how do I still service those that I'm servicing, how they know me, but also how do I show up for myself? And it got to this place where I'm kind of like divided into so many different people is what it felt like, right? So this idea of like, do you even know what you're doing? Do you know what you're talking about? Or there are people who are more qualified than you, so you can't call yourself an expert, right? All of these things kind of like pop up in your mind, that self-doubt. And then it doesn't help if there are people around you who you consider friends or close family members who don't necessarily see that vision and they have that sort of skepticism. But for me, it's just really recognizing how to stay grounded in that, right? Stay grounded in your mission, in what it is that you're doing. And so for the longest time, I actually had this fear of kind of sharing my story just because I know someone that had cancer that had a way worse experience, right? So it's like, do I really want to talk about me being a cancer survivor when this person like barely made it through? Or can I call myself an herbalist when we have a Dr. Sebi? You know what I mean? That sort of like, how can I share this, or how can I say this is a valid experience if there's something that trumps that in my mind? But I feel like there are moments where, testimonies come in from someone of like, hey, I've been doing this method for some time and I no longer have high blood pressure, or I've corrected my sciatica, or your program has really helped me to reach like ultimate success with balance in my family and work. Like those sort of things that remind me why I did it in the first place, and that it's actually bigger than myself. I think that's really what I kind of like tune into during those moments of self-doubt, because we're really here to serve others. You know what I mean? How can this information help you? I'm not trying to big myself up. I'm trying to really give you information because I didn't have that. You know what I mean? So I think just pushing past that fear is really how you have to like navigate it, because that's where the growth's on the other side.
Oh,
You know
I
what I
love
mean?
it. I love it. Pushing past that fear. How do you push past fear?
Ooh, girl. I mean, I feel like that comes with we kind of touched on it earlier, right? Like, first off, surrounding yourself with, again, not like-minded people, but people who are going to support your growth, right? And so, at the end of the day, again, trying to stick with very simple examples, but about the Christian one earlier. I'm Christian, you're Muslim, right? We're still friends. And so you may have an event or something that you're doing that I can still support you with. It doesn't necessarily mean because I'm a Christian, now we got to be enemies, right? So there's that opportunity to really grow by surrounding yourself with people who are going to support your growth, but then also staying rooted. And honestly, you have to have a willingness to be open, right? Transformation begins with that willingness, that opportunity that says like, hey, you may not necessarily agree with everything that I'm saying, but the intent behind this conversation is still natural, is still pure. It's not for me to put you down or you to put me down. It's for us to challenge our thinking, right? And if you don't have that openness, you're just around a bunch of people who are saying yes to everything that you say. You're not really growing at that point, right? So just having that willingness to be open, and then I think surrounding yourself are the two like important, for me, I think the two important aspects when it comes to navigating that self-doubt.
I think willingness to be open in some ways for me triggers willingness to be wrong.
That's the thing. Because now you're being vulnerable. If you're wrong, you're now being vulnerable, and you got to admit that, right? And that can be scary too, because who wants to be wrong? Right? But I mean, I feel like that's the beauty. And there was a time, I'm a Scorpio, right? So like, we don't want to be wrong in nothing. But it boiled down to like, kind of putting that pride, because that's all it is pride, putting that pride to the side and really saying like, okay, where is the end goal that I'm trying to get to, right? And can I get there exactly where, if I could get there exactly how I am right now, I'd already be there. No?
But I'm not.
So, exactly. So it's like, well, if I really am trying to get to this place, I got to put a little gas in the tank, right? And that may mean expressing something, and it's okay to be wrong. I don't know why people feel like this, like being wrong is the end of the world. It's okay. I'll say something real loud and wrong, and then I will humbly say, you know what, you're right. I'm going to sit down.
My bad.
It's okay, right? And that's okay. I apologize. I'll do better. So, but I think, and for me, I'm a big jokester. So like now I can kind of turn those moments into like a little joke, and we'll laugh it off, and it kind of saves my pride, if you will. But just letting go of that and recognizing that there are some things that I know and I'm an expert on, and there's a lot that I don't know at all, right? And just remembering that, like, to be a perpetual student, because you don't know what you don't know, first off. And there's always an opportunity. I like to say be an opportunist, which has a negative connotation to it, but I mean it in the sense of, like, even those negative moments or those embarrassing moments or any of the times where it's like not the outcome that you necessarily wanted, if you take that and learn from it, it's still a beautiful experience. You know what I mean? And so just like wrapping your mind around that, like, even if I get this wrong, I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to grow from it. It kind of pushes that fear to the side. It makes it worth it.
No, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost repositioning what wrong looks like.
Exactly.
It's like every moment is an opportunity to learn. Now, if I see myself as a professional student, I'm always looking for things to learn. So when you are a perpetual student, it kind of has this requirement that you have to understand that you don't know everything. And if you don't know everything, that means you will make mistakes, you will do things wrong, but changing your relationship with doing things wrong as a learning opportunity, not necessarily a dig at your personhood or a dig at you because you did something wrong. So I think it's changing how you look at doing things wrong.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's funny because so I'm a yoga instructor, but I'm a yoga practitioner in the sense that I can actually certify other students to be a yoga teacher, right? And so at that point, it's considered like a certifying body. At that level, you would hear, I wouldn't say assume, but you could hear that, most people, once they become a teacher, they kind of stop learning, right? And so it's like, now I'm at this place where I'm teaching the teacher. So, like, why would I go be a student? But I love the opportunity to get into a class and, like, just be the student, right? And it's so beautiful because there's so many different teaching styles. There's so many different flows. There's, you know what I mean? There's so much to learn. And even as a person who is, certifying these people, I'm still learning on a daily basis. Like, oh, I like the way you put that together, or, your thought process on this or whatever. So it's just a great opportunity to really just expand. I mean, that's where the growth is. That's where the expansion is, you know what I mean? In understanding that, like, you are not the end all be all, and there's so much more at any level that you are, CEO, whatever.
Absolutely.
Like, there's always something to learn. So it's a beautiful space to be in for sure.
I love that. I love it. So this, my last question is, as lifelong learners, how do we balance intellectual curiosity and the need for rest and reflection?
So, yeah, I feel like, being a lifelong learner, a perpetual student, like I kind of touched on earlier, it's not this, like, constant, trying to bring in information and how much can I read, or like how much textbook, information can I throw down my throat, right? I really think people have to understand that space and integration is necessary, right? And I kind of want to use an example of, when I'm doing personal training, right? Trying to help someone understand how the muscle works. And basically what's happening is when you properly exercise, your muscle basically rips open, right? It kind of separates. And so you need that recovery time to actually allow the protein and the creatine and all the things that you've consumed to actually rebuild the muscle and make it stronger, right? And so during that time when you're exercising properly, that's why your body gets more hungry and all those things, because your body is calling for this nutrition, but it has a purpose, and it's to rebuild this muscle. But yeah, so really just the only way that will actually happen is if you allow that body to recover, right? You give it that rest time because it needs to actually digest what it is that you're doing. And it's very important. I don't know if you've noticed, like, there are some people who go to the gym like 2 hours a day every day, and they haven't hit their goals. They've been in there for 3 years and they're still like, I'm still trying to lose weight, gain muscle. It's like, that's because you're not allowing the body to actually recover. And that is very important. They're both necessary. So this idea of, like, expansion and reflection kind of have to coexist in order to really have that true transformation. So that's what I would say, like just focusing on understanding you need both in order to actually get results.
Yes, I love that. So, like, when you see yourself as a lifelong learner, when you're being a lifelong learner, reflection and pause and rest is a part of the formula. You can't just always be receiving, you can't always be consuming because you aren't giving your brain enough time to digest any of it.
And if you don't digest, you're not going to apply.
Exactly. Which is back to what we're starting here. You got to apply what you learned. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh my gosh, our conversations are always the best. I'm so happy that you're here. And we didn't even talk about the fact that your teas are also in black and green. Yes,
they can go right on black and green and order them right off there and get the wellness part started. You know, there's definitely nothing wrong with starting with that side. So
exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you, Kristian. I really appreciate you, Doctor. And I'll be talking to you soon.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning into the Black and Green podcast. Did you have more questions for our special guest? Please leave your questions in the comment section. Also, check us out at blkgrn.com. Please subscribe and comment. We love hearing from you. Until next time, buy black and live green.